Hi, it's me, Renjit. If you enjoyed this episode, I request you to leave us a review. This will help us to reach more great podcast listeners like you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to FS Brew. FS Brew is the region's first podcast focusing on all things insurance and insurtech here in the UAE and the wider Middle East.
Hi, I'm Renjit Philip. I'm an angel investor and I advise startups. These days, I'm working to set up a cyber insurance startup here in the UAE.
Hi, I'm Vidya. I'm the founder of Forward, a startup that works with insurance companies to accelerate their go-to-market propositions, digital transformation, and digital marketing initiatives. In this episode, we had a very special guest, Lavanya Mundayur. She is the COO of New India Assurance company here in Dubai. We spoke in length about shaping more women leaders, giving out a strong message to the women in the industry to push and challenge themselves to get more exposure, but also calling out organizations to create an environment that allows them to thrive.
Yeah, and we dug a little bit into insurance inclusion, and it was very interesting to note the similarities that she brought out between the UAE market and India. And she talked about interesting concept of many Indias. I mean, every city, every village is different, and different strategies are required. She talked about how New India Assurance was using micro offices and technology to enable distribution, since almost everybody has a phone in their hands. And really, it's all about increasing awareness.
Absolutely. And she also spoke about how a traditional insurer, like a New India Assurance, are changing with technology advancements in areas that matter to them, like creating a best-in-class claims online journey for motor, or almost a real-time claims fulfillment for their health portfolio.
So all in all, a power-packed episode. We hope you enjoy it. Hi, Vidya. So who are we meeting today?
Ranjit, today we are meeting Ms. Lavanya Mundayur. She is the Chief Operating Officer of New India Assurance in Dubai. She's the first woman from New India to head any GCC operation. She has over 3 decades of insurance experience across various fields and geographies like Singapore, UK, and other parts of Europe, and has headed some of the biggest operations for New India in India, including Mumbai, where she headed the large corporate and broker office, which had clients like Tata, TCS, Air India, Bharat Petroleum, Reliance, ADAG, amongst others. She holds a postgraduate degree in analytical chemistry. She is a fellow of the Insurance Institute of India, Mumbai. She's also a qualified reinsurance specialist from Singapore College of Insurance. Ms. Lavanya, it's lovely to have you on our show. Welcome.
I think I'm privileged by the fact that you have invited me to be on your podcast. I could say honestly that this is the first podcast I'm doing, so pleasure to be with you.
Awesome. So this is a question we always ask our guests. How did you get into insurance? What about it enticed you? And can you tell us about your role in NIA, specifically here in Dubai, UAE?
Well, to very quickly go back 32 years. In those days, I was all set for an academic career. I was preparing for my PhD. In fact, I did get admission to, Indian Institute of Science and IIT Chennai for post-graduation.
Wow.
And all set for that. And I was just doing, something like a internship in CSIR, where my professor happened to just mention that, Lavanya, maybe you should also look at administrative careers. I mean, it just came out of the blue. He said, ultimately, even if you're a research scientist, you will at some point reach a role where you would be carrying out administrative functions, which I think you'll do well. So that was it. It was there in the back of my mind. And then, how we are in college, fun time, just go and write all exams. And just like that, I gave the GIC entrance, got through, and that's it. It's just an accident of fate, you could put it that way. But later I realized that, the GIC officer exam was not really the easiest thing to crack. The group of us, we were all preparing for the civil services. somebody cracked the RBI exam, I cracked the SBI and GIC exam, but somehow chose to be in GIC, and posting to New India was just accident. I think they do some ABCD, DCBA kind of count and allot you to the 4 companies, because those days we were a subsidiary of GIC.
Right,
So,
right, yeah.
That's it. But then, yeah, but career-wise, it's been very complex, in the sense I have worked in small places as a branch manager. I got opportunities to head some of the large offices in Mumbai. Like I've headed the Hull division, which was then we crossed 100 crores. That is some 20 years back. And then also large corporate and brokers office, as you mentioned. The LCBO is the single largest operating office of the country, 1,500 crores. And much more importantly, I got an opportunity as a chief regional manager to head the Bangalore region. Bangalore is very, very complex. It has rural business, it has retail business, it has big bank assurance tie-ups with big banks. Then a lot of corporate customers from the IT sector, and even clients like, so lot of complexity there, with all kinds of business, and that was interesting. So every posting has been interesting, and I had a short tenure for 3 years in Singapore. That was also very interesting experience, because we were dealing with marine business worldwide, cargo and hull. A lot of clients in London, in Europe. So it was, and in Asia, of course.
Yeah.
So, and now UAE, the last 1 year has been in UAE. UAE is almost like a homecoming. It's like an extension of Kerala. For the first time in many, many years, I am talking in Malayalam for most of the time. And the only exception to not speaking in Malayalam is speaking in Hindi. Every client that you meet, every broker, almost every other person is an Indian. I mean, it's great to be in a country which is predominantly expat. I think more than 80-85% of the population here is expatriate, if I'm not wrong. So that makes the business model also different. Like when you are in countries where you have 99% local population, and in a country where you have significant expat population. So business is all about understanding the psyche of the people, right? So depending on the people, our business prospects also change. And it is interesting to see how competitive this market is, which is understandable. Probably it's a function of the opportunity, which, I mean, of course, there must have been a little bit of slowdown the last few years, maybe in the last 1 decade. But if you look at it from a different perspective, this is one place which has 1/5 of the business of India, but has an equal number of brokers and insurers. Now, nobody's a fool. I mean, people invest in a place only when you see some potential for the present or for the future, because ultimately it is about capital deployment and return on that capital. So the fact that the penetration is so low itself indicates that there is huge potential in this market. Of course, predominantly it may be Saudi, UAE. I mean, if you look at GCC as a whole, the predominant scope may be Saudi, UAE, and to some extent Oman. But it's an interesting space to be in.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. I think it's always fascinating to understand how our guests got into insurance, and a little bit of that history as well. Now, stepping back, New India also has a very storied history, right? It was set up by the Tatas in 1919 or so, if I'm getting my facts straight, then nationalized, been around for 100+ years that way, and is the largest GI company in India, has had a string of firsts, like the first satellite insurance in India, and in the UAE, I think, and I've been present since 1961 or so. And so you come from a company with a very storied history. What are your thoughts about that? Are there any interesting interesting first from the UAE market that probably you can share with us? And obviously, I know that you've been here for a year, so I'm cognizant of that.
Well, let me put it this way, though I am in my mid-50s, I'm not really an old-timer that I would know the old stories. But yes, historically, the thought behind the Tatas is interesting because almost every place, I mean, New India has operations in 28 countries. And starting from Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, Fiji, Singapore, Bangkok, here, London, and then further down, further west, right up to the Caribbean. So, and even, and if you look at it historically, I think every place where the British had a presence and the Indians were not getting a fair deal in terms of prices, in terms of, just insurance coverage. So you had huge Indian populations. You had, in most of these places, you had Indian industrialists. And New India's presence was intended to supplement whatever gap was there, to fill in the gap that was there because of the British presence. And even in Dubai, what I understand, in fact, recently I'm a member of the IBG board. So there I happened to meet one of the board members, a surveyor, an old-timer surveyor, who said that, when he landed here in Dubai, maybe 50, 60 years back, there was nothing. There was only, in terms of insurers, we're not talking about the economy here, we're talking about insurers. There was just one British company, Royal, I believe, and New India.
Right.
And that at that point of time, almost all the Indian industrialists, we were there to provide support to them. And all of them rallied around New India. That certainly, then the evolution over the last 60 years, certainly this cultural context would not be, other than a historical interest, it would not mean anything to the people who are there anywhere in New India today. Because market has changed. At that point of time, we were there to provide a service. Today, we are a market player. We may not be very significant in the sense like we are not in the top 10, not top 15, but we are certainly not in the bottom 15 either. We are somewhere in the middle, and we function more as a branch of the big multinational New India rather than an independent entity here. So there's a difference between the local insurers and us. We were there to provide a certain service. Today, we are a market player just like anybody else. So there's a difference. And in a city with a 85% expat population, of which the majority are Indian. So today, almost all the insurers, there are several insurers who are large insurers who are headed by Indians, ex-New Indians.
Right.
And,
so there is that history.
Anywhere, many of the broker firms are headed, or most of the employees are Indian. So we are no longer in that monopoly situation where we were the only insurer for the Indians. From that situation, we have shifted. And so we also, if majority of our customers are Indians, it is only a function of the population. That's all. Otherwise, today we are there to provide services to all. That is the difference.
So even though you had started out by catering to the Indian diaspora, it is now a broad-based customer base.
Absolutely.
In fact, it brings quite nicely to my next question, and it is just literally touching upon that. You mentioned that NIA has offices in 28 countries, and it's predominantly was to service the Indian community there. Now, as you rightly said, now the scenario has changed. You are a player. So if you are a player in this market, in Dubai and in UAE specifically, what is the current customer strategy that New India is looking at, both from a PL and CL perspective? Could you shed some light on what the business mix looking like? Be useful to know.
See, our business mix is pretty traditional, pretty conventional. So we have a mix of, in the sense from LOB wise, if you see, we have a mix of, we have property business. First and foremost, we are not a reinsurance player. So we are a direct player. We do only direct business with insurers, of course, and direct business with customers. So it's both retail and corporate. So it's just like any other conventional insurer, no different from that. So we have property business, we have motor business, so property and casualty, and we have some liability business, and we have health business. So here, of course, UAE is different from other places because here again, health is mandatory. And so we do some health business also. At the end of the day, it's just like anybody else. We are here to do business, and we are here to provide employment, and we are here to make profits.
Nice. And I think from a PL specifically perspective, I think New India is present on many of the, aggregator or broker turn aggregator, websites, and also typical aggregator websites. So is that like your direct strategy to go via these, insurtech platforms?
See, when we talk of insurtech, we do tend to confuse it a little bit. As I understand, insurtech technically are insurers who are, leveraging their digital platforms. Like if you look at Lemonade or whatever, I wouldn't like to take names here, but that is the intent when we talk about insurtech. Web aggregators are different. So it's just that here we don't have a separate legislation for web aggregators. So they also function in India. Of course, you have both agency, broker, web aggregators. You have legislation for all. So probably here also that is in a work in progress kind of thing. So web aggregators are different from insurtech insurers. The strategy would be different. They're, something like Policy Bazaar is very different from Lemonade, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's different. So, and as far as an insurer is concerned, we would work with all intermediary spaces.
Right.
So,
okay.
So these are essentially distribution channels for you.
Channels.
Distribution channels. So
why would you say no to a distribution channel?
So whether it's whether it's technology based or whether it's so many of these entities also have BPOs. So it is not a pure technological thing. It is a techno-human interface. There is a techno-human interface. It's just about building up volumes. I mean, at the end of the day, what are we looking at? We are trying to increase our reach, and this is an easier way of doing it. I would put it that way.
Yeah. Right. Okay. All right.
Very good. So, I mean, just looking at the UAE market and UAE industry, we don't find too many women leaders in senior positions. And that's not just an insurance problem. That's a worldwide multi-sector problem. True. What can insurance companies do to increase diversity in their businesses, right from hiring through to retaining women at mid-level positions, and then in grooming them to board-level positions?
Yeah, I agree about hiring and training and the early stages. But I think the first 10 years of any woman's career would always have a bit of a balancing act, just because of the social expectation perspective. Otherwise, it does not matter. Here, I would like to just switch on to my own personal experience. Then I was heading the Bangalore region. It had almost 65 operating offices under me, around 500 people. 500 people were reporting. So I had the responsibility of, mapping the right person to the right job. So that is where I found a lot of women who were there. They did not even dare to have aspirations. See, basic things like a safe environment, a conducive environment, a comfortable environment, these are all things which we talk about, and which I think largely in India, at least, it is there. And here also, I find in Dubai also, that kind of environment is there. But do we really push our women to have more aspirations, to have confidence, to think that, when it comes to a marketing assignment, I have actually had to pull out people and tell them that you are good, you go. And I was just reminded of my own time when I was given my first branch, small branch, which was around 2 hours journey from my place of posting. And I was rather pushed to it. in the sense, there are two sets of circumstances which make you do something. One is when your present setup is very uncomfortable, then you, it's not really aspirational. It's just that you're so uncomfortable in your present posting that you would willingly take up anything that seems better. And so my first step into marketing was something like that. I did not want people under me to have that kind of situation. So the more important thing was when I came to Mumbai, I came from a very small town, 1.5 crore kind of branch I was heading in Kerala. And when I came to Mumbai, and my boss just told me, didn't even ask me, he just told me, Lavanya, there's this DO which is opening up, Hull DO, you just go there. And I happen to know that's a 90 crore DO. I did not have that kind of technical expertise. I did not have confidence to talk to, very, very large corporates. I just didn't think that I could do it. And when I asked him, sir, can I do it? I mean, this is too big for me. He said, I wouldn't have offered it to you if I didn't think you can do it. And that was a huge responsibility on my shoulders later when I moved into that role. Like when I became a head of a region and I was posting people to different branches and DOs, like I felt that, wherever I saw potential in people, I would insist and push many of them to take up responsibilities which otherwise they wouldn't even think that they could do. So this is one thing which I have found with women, that when you push them to do something, then they go on to do an excellent job. It's just that you yourself are not, and this is more in the previous generation. See, when it comes to the youngsters today, I think there is not much difference when it comes to aspirations and confidence. Then it is only about creating an enabling environment, and people do flourish on their own when the environment is there. So the previous generation, with people who were already in their late 30s or 40s, one had to push them. And I have found this multiple times that when you push them, so it's not only about women, it is about all those people who have had challenges in their lives. So it's not only about women. It is about men also who have had different, like I remember when I was in Mumbai RO, and suddenly out of the blue, some 7-8 youngsters were posted to my office. And I was so happy because in all my previous tenures, I was actually supervising people who were much older than me. And that is not actually easy. And for the first time, I had a bunch of youngsters, but most of them were from, engineers, but from very interior places. Soft skills were practically non-existent. They didn't have confidence. They did not know how to write mails. They did not know how to talk. And there was a lot of, it's just that their circumstances, see, the circumstances in which you have grown up is slightly different. They were not from privileged, environments or families. And we did a lot of training for them. And, we had specific soft skills training done. And I had this, pairing done. I paired up people so that, a good person who was very good at writing would be paired up as a mentor to, among batchmates, not even seniors or juniors, among batchmates, so that, they could help each other. And we had wonderful results. So it's all about not just women, it's about all those who have had difficult circumstances, in which, of course, women come on the top of the pile. There's no doubt about it. In fact, women from difficult circumstances are way more, have had much more challenges than others. But it's worked out very well. And what I really like about youngsters today, even from rural circumstances, there are a lot of people who are aspirational, confident, and very determined to do well in life. So as a company, I think we just have to do whatever is necessary to bring out the best potential in people.
Right. I think you touched upon a number of aspects there. And I think predominantly is taking that risk on talent and actually, providing that strong sponsorship is absolutely important. And you talked about that environment as well, creating that enabling environment. Okay, very good.
Absolutely. So true, and so much, what I personally resonate with. Going back to our markets in India and in UAE, what are the commonalities and the differences that you find, especially for a company like NIA, that can utilize to make sure you can, win market share here in the UAE. And of course, the recent agreement that India and UAE signed, the CEPA trade agreement, which means they can trade over $100 billion worth of business, makes it all very exciting for a company like NIA from a business perspective, isn't it?
See, here I would like to just say something.
Yeah.
We are not really a top line player here.
Right.
In India, yes, we are the market leader. We are a $5 billion company and multinational and whatnot. But when it comes to other places, like whether it's UAE or any other place, outside, we have to manage multiple complexities. There's regulatory compliances.
Yeah.
Today, RBC, and I mean, the way we are moving towards IFRS 17, there's a lot of not just compliance in terms of there's capital compliance. So when it comes to capital compliance, see, one can afford to think about market share and top line driven growth only when you have that kind of investment return or investors, or simply put, money to burn. And at the end of the day, burning capital is a conscious call. And this is something which I think, see, everybody has their own agenda, so one cannot criticize any other market strategy. But as far as New India is concerned, we would go conservative. We are here to ensure that we sustain that. See, we are responsible for 60 families and their lives here, apart from business. So I would want to strengthen my business model rather than look at market share. Mm-hmm. So much more important would be to do good business, profitable business, and build a sustainable model so that going forward, the company does well, the employees also do well, and there is stability. Right.
Very good. I think that's a very fair point. Yeah.
And this is a good time. And right now, this is a good time because I think the economy is taking a turn. At the end of the day, insurers piggyback on the economy, right? And one has to be patient. I mean, these things don't happen overnight. So one has to be patient. And as in fact, the non-hydrocarbon economy has to pick up. So once that picks up, I'm sure that, all insurers will, it's a very patient game that we have to play. There is no magic that can happen overnight. And over a period of time, I think things will change for the better.
Yeah, perfect. Now going from the UAE to India, and a topic perhaps that maybe resonate with you is about insurance inclusion, right? Now, India, with a massive population over 1.3 plus billion, is fairly nascent when it comes to insurance penetration. I believe less than 2%, circa 1.5 odd percent. Coverage provided by life or health insurance is fairly low, even though there are some attempts in the big cities and around urban areas. Rural areas are fairly untapped. So what are sort of the practices you have seen in terms of increasing insurance inclusion in the rural areas? And is there a lesson for UAE to learn from that as well, which also has lower insurance penetration, relatively speaking?
Yeah, see, India is again a combination of multiple segments. So you were speaking of rural segments, so I can say all said and done, it's a brick and mortar model which resonates with the rural populace. So this is where, the micro offices concept that most of the insurers that we certainly did have. We have, I think, almost more than 1,000 offices. We have a total of 2,000 offices, but almost 1,000 plus offices in smaller places. So many of them were started for the purpose of financial inclusion. But this is something which resonates very closely with me because I have seen a lot of offices being opened and many of them being closed because it was not financially viable at some point of time. So the thing is with people who are comfortable to actually deal with individuals, you have agents sitting there, you have a small branch head sitting there, and you have people coming in, you have walk-in customers. So in a belt where that kind of comfort is necessary, there you need the micro offices. And see, technology has made a lot of difference. If you take the Kerala model, for example, in Kerala, almost every agent has been given computers, and they have agent portal offices. There are hundreds and hundreds of offices only in Kerala. And all the agents are empowered to issue policies. I mean, the common policies which are necessary for, Aam Aadmi.
Right.
Not only that, in fact, in the last 2 years, COVID has proved that our technology platform is excellent, because we have been able to issue policies without a single gap. We have, in fact, it's gone a step further ahead. Even, 90% of the claims are small ticket claims. Right. Especially in motor, bulk of our claims are small ticket claims if you exclude. Right. So all these claim information is done through the agency portals. In instant system-driven survey allotment, where surveys are required. Lot of things have happened digitally, which we don't really shout about. It's there, and these things are a work in progress. Combining the human element and technology, so that things are easy for the customer, and the intermediary space. We just forget about the agents completely. We are more into brokers and web aggregators, and I'm not to reduce from them, but if you see 9 lakh agents for the industry is a big opportunity. So there's a complexity here. On one hand, we say that there is an employment shortage, right? You don't have jobs. On the other hand, you have huge opportunity in terms of the agency force which can be built. What is the success of the LIC? It is their strong agency base. So this is something which it provides employment. At the same time, it is a win-win situation for both the insurers and the customer. So the challenge with general insurance products is that the premium is so low that sometimes it is unviable for the agent, whereas it works well on the digital platform. When you have small ticket, small premium policies, it works better on the digital platform. And then the challenge is general insurers, for penetration, technology is the only solution. Because how can you expect an agent to go to somebody's house, collect a premium of 500 rupees, when his travel expense itself would be, say, 50 to 100 rupees? It's not viable. So balancing that, it's a combination of many things. Absolutely. I mean, those micro offices points is good, and also technology. The question is, how accessible is technology to somebody in rural parts, and what kind of devices and internet connectivity do they have? Can you make those products simple and easy to understand for a person, living in rural settings? It's a very interesting and complex topic, isn't it? It's a huge opportunity, because all said and done. In fact, I was surprised that the UAE penetration is lower than the Indian penetration. But then, yes, I mean, when you look at it, 85%, when the majority population is expatriate, that is understandable. But in India also, see, low penetration is huge opportunity at the end of the day. And we presume, see, the mobile revolution itself proves that, if required, people will buy. The challenge is not about access or reach or technology. Everybody has a mobile today, even in rural areas. It's a question of disposable income. How much money would you spare for something which is not even perceived as a risk transfer? See, one big challenge in India or in most places is that there is no concept of risk. People look at insurance as a return on investment. See, that is the, to some extent, the life insurers are to some extent responsible for that.
Yeah.
In the sense,
True.
instead of looking at investment products separately from risk products, we have gone and mixed up the two. So, and general insurers are, in fact, I remember when I was young, somebody used to tell me that, oh, gaadi ka, I don't know, should I use Hindi here, but gaadi ka LIC karna hai. Gaadi ka LIC karna hai. You know, so the life insurance model has kind of destroyed the concept of risk in India.
Right. Yeah.
So but of course the youngsters, if you see, there is a change again in the younger generation because they're very conscious of risk. Now the only thing is how do you convert that consciousness of risk into premium? That will happen only when you have decent pricing, which again is a function of volume. The more numbers that you sell, the better pricing that you can give. And the lesser of anti-selection that you have, the better the prices. So if you have only people who are 45 years and above taking out medical insurance, that scheme is bound to fail. But how do you get the youngsters to take out policies for themselves and for their families when they don't perceive any need for it?
Yeah.
True. Yeah, with India, I think it's a lot of awareness building that's required because volume was never a problem with us. It's more the, getting through the information.
Even when the awareness is there, the need to buy should be there.
True. Yeah.
The need to buy.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, corporate health insurance policies have made a difference because at least it has created awareness among the employees.
True.
That has made a lot of difference. And then people are conscious. It is just that how do you translate the profitable segment into, how do you pull in the profitable segment? Because I don't think you need to ask whether your parents want a policy, right? They would want it and we would not be willing to give it.
True. Absolutely fascinating. So coming back to the Middle East market and to the region we are in, what's the strategy according to you that can be utilized by an insurance entrant from India to make an impact here? We've obviously had a success story with Policy Bazaar, who have captured market interest really well. But what are the essentials that you think would advise?
Largely, UAE is also, though people may think differently, but I think UAE is also an extension of the Indian market, very competitive, similar kind of diaspora, not very different. So the people think pretty similar. And see, a huge population here is blue-collar workers, right? How do you expect them to take out insurance unless it's mandatory? So, of course, the mandatory insurance does help. Dropping prices, I think some kind of tariff protection would be necessary because it's a small market. Otherwise, you will end up with, again, insurers either folding up or forced to merge, which is not really a desirable situation. So I think right now it is not about aggressive expansion, but consolidation and bringing about some kind of sanity in pricing, which either would be reinsurer driven or regulator driven, because self-discipline really doesn't work at the end of the day because everybody has other challenges to manage. So other than those who have investor support, it's not going to be easy to have a sustainable model. Or insurers.
No,
Policy Bazaar
absolutely.
is not an insurer. We tend to talk about it that way.
True.
No, as an entrant from India, I mean, I think some of their strategies have been interesting to follow to make a dent in the market.
Sorry to say, I mean, blunt, but pricing alone cannot be a sustainable model over a period of time.
Yeah. No, we actually spoke. We actually spoke about this at length with Mr. Hatim Maskawala, who's an actuarial, head of actuarial, and then we had the similar inputs from him.
Here in the UAE market, there is huge change and transformation that's happening in the world of insurance. I think it's been happening for, I would say, for past 3-4 years. People like the insurers are catching up on the whole digital transformation. We've seen the brokers who've been typically traditional in their outlook turning into aggregator style, very digitally serving the business. You've got obviously the typical aggregators themselves here in the market, and then you've got the new age insurtechs like Hala and Bima. Now, typically traditional insurers tend to be very slow to change, very slow to adopting new technologies, new ways of doing business. In terms of collaboration with these new players or established insurtechs, what is the approach New India is taking and why?
Yeah, so see, we are also a company which is like had the very traditional model earlier. We used to function via either mostly directly with our customers, especially corporate customers, even retail. We used to do our business directly, and over a period of time, it is through brokers, because now predominantly it's a broker-driven market. So that's there. But we also have our relationships with the aggregators. We are tying up with them. In fact, New India has always been in the forefront of technological advances. See, again, here I would like to go a bit back and forth, because see, in India, it's a 2,000 offices, 18,000 employees, sized company, $5 billion, I think we've crossed this year. So with that kind of size, technology is always a work in progress. So if you go back 30 years, you had only a telex. And then if you look at 10 years back, you had a fax machine. And then over a period of last 20 years, computers have come in a big way, and then most of in fact, all our email solutions have already moved to cloud. There are some companies who talk a lot about cloud. We don't talk about it. See, at the end of the day, technology is about capital. And when you are spending money, it has to be appropriate to you, to your requirements. It has to be suitable to your requirements. If you're going to be accessing your data multiple times, then the cost of cloud is not worthwhile. At the same time, if your server size is not big enough to handle the kind of size that you have, I mean, the kind of business volume that you are anticipating, then you need to move to cloud. So at the end of the day, it depends on what you need. It's not, there's no one size fit all for all. I mean, at the end of the day, when the beauty of diversity is that you have multiple segments, you have multiple requirements, and you have multiple programs. So in India, what would be suitable for a Go-Digit or for any of the new startups may not be suitable for New India. So it's, or for any other person. It's about leveraging your own strength. So for example, for us, we have had to move to technology in a big way when it comes to small ticket claim settlements, because it was too cumbersome for us to handle. So because for us, it's lakhs and lakhs of claims which needed human intervention, was pulling down our services. And same way for any agency tie-ups, we needed video streaming facility. So these are things which we have brought in. It's not much publicized, but when it comes to many of our tie-ups, whatever we've had, in fact, I have dealt with one tie-up where they had 5 private insurers, and they said the 6th PSU, we want New India, because we know that what the technological facilities that we need, we know that you can provide. So these kind of, so wherever it is required, we have been in the forefront of it. For example, in health, we have some of the finest tech solutions, so that our claim settlements are almost on real time. And it is only because of that one facility that many of the corporates have chosen to go with us, sometimes even at a higher price. So where we have not compromised on price, but our facilities have compensated for that gap. Let me put it that way. So certainly technology is very important. It is just that how much is return on the investment when it comes to I mean, I come back to that at the end of the day. I'm a very business-minded
You're-
person when it comes to
You are a business
money.
person for sure.
So here also in UAE also, we have, in fact, when nobody had API, we had. So I can't take the credit
Right.
for that because it's my predecessor and the people, the tech people in the agency who have, that initiative. But even in terms of claim settlements or survey allotments and things like that, we are moving more and more. We are trying to incorporate technology more and more. And in our relationships that we are building with the web aggregators also, we are trying to, see how best we can ease out data transfer so that things can be easier and faster for them. But at the end of the day, the
Back to returns.
big elephant in the room is that we have, at the end of the day, we need to have money to spare to pay our intermediaries. For that, we need to have sensible pricing, which is a huge challenge, as I see it.
Understood. So as we kind of come towards the end of the podcast, is there a message that you would like to send to anyone from the insurance industry in the UAE, obviously outside of your organization? It could be a personal message or a business one.
I'm a very small person in this space. I'm nobody to give any message or anything, but yes, something for the women, something for all the people who lack confidence and aspirations in life. Please aim for the stars or something even higher if possible. Have confidence. And because I can say this, I have to say this because I was a very shy person. I cannot imagine, 20 years back, I could not imagine being on a podcast like this, speaking live. Very frankly, and when I joined New India, I did not dream of, postings like this. And anything is possible. Anything is possible. I think people, women, especially women across all segments, I would say you all have potential inside, a lot of potential inside. Just try and see how best that can blossom. I mean, the challenges will be there. We all live in different, expectations, different social expectations, familial expectations. But with all that, I think we should not allow that spark which is inside to die down.
Perfect. That's a great message to send out. Anything is possible. So with that, I'd say thank you very much for being here at FS Brew. We enjoyed this conversation immensely.
Absolutely.
I'm hugely thankful to both of you and to FS Brew. Very, very happy to have been part of your chat.
So lovely. Thank you so much.